Martial Arts Showcase from the nation's capital with Master Dennis Brown.
Hello, I'm Dennis Brown, and welcome to Martial Arts Showcase, where we'll keep you up to date with the latest news and events in the world of martial arts. We'll introduce you to the superstars and foremost representatives of the world of martial arts. Today's guest is Willie the Bam Johnson. Willie the Bam Johnson is very unique in that he has set a record in America today by being the first wushu stylist to be rated in the three major categories of martial arts: 2 different levels of forms, 2 weight classes of fighting, and weapons. Very unique. We'll be right back with Willie the Bam Johnson. Okay, we're back with Martial Arts Showcase and our very special guest, Willie the Bam Johnson. Welcome to the show, Bam.
How you doing, sir?
Okay. Well, for the audience that may not know Bam, because I've seen you many times, and of course, I've worked with you, but I know there's a lot of people out there in the martial arts world who may not be familiar with you, so we're going to try to ask you a few questions just to kind of find out where you're coming from. And in fact, where did you come from? Are you from this area, or how'd you get started in martial arts?
Well, I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Started off in the martial arts when I was 6. You know, I'm probably like a lot of other little kids, for the goal of wanting to be like Bruce Lee. Say my first Bruce Lee movie is like, yeah, I want to be just like this guy, you know.
Right.
I want to be the black Bruce Lee on a movie screen. So that was really my that was really my start. That's how I got involved. You know, I wanted to get into the movies.
Now that far back, was there anybody really teaching youngsters at 6 years old, or did you work with someone, or how'd you get started in Baltimore?
Well, you know, it's real strange, because my family didn't even have the money to even afford classes. You know, they couldn't pay for me to study karate or kung fu. So I used to pick up books, go to the movies, and just imitate what I seen on the movie screen. You know, I just had this desire. Nobody couldn't stand in my way. You know, I just had to take what I seen on the screen, take what I seen in them books, and just practice, practice, and practice, and practice. Even when people told me I couldn't, you know, reach those goals, it was like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. So I really started on my own, you know.
I think a lot of martial artists can relate with that, because I think anybody that started over 20 years ago, there weren't as many schools then, and a lot of us got our starts by running back and forth to New York and watching the Kung Fu movies,
Yes,
a little bit. So you'd come home and practice whatever. So your system kind of was whatever was in the movies that day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. And did you work with any particular instructor? When did you start into formal? You have had formal training, is that right?
Yes, sir. I say when I was around 9, I went to a community center called McKim's Community Center, and I got in contact with an instructor named Kenneth Parker, and he was skilled in Korean form of martial arts called Kangdakwon and Wing Chun Kung Fu. And he was really impressed by, you know, with my ability. He started teaching me within about maybe 6 months or so. I got a black belt. And then I started studying with a young man by the name of Tony Lin. He started a school.
Oh, I know Tony Lin.
Sir,
you know I
yes,
know
sir.
Tony Lin,
Yes,
right?
Sir.
Oh, go ahead.
Sir. And when I went to his school, he was really impressed with my ability. And it was like, immediately he started giving me advanced forms, put me in his advanced group, and I picked up the forms. And, you know, really, I really got the curriculum down pat. And I just happened to pick up a magazine one day, I mean, because I still wanted to move. I didn't feel like I was moving anywhere. You know, I wanted to get out there and compete. And
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned Tony Lin, because I know, you know, you've worked with me and you've worked with other instructors, but that means that your first instructor, Tony Lin, or the first one that got you interested in the Kung Fu side, was my instructor's brother.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of a coincidence. I didn't know you had studied with Tony Lin also.
Yes, sir.
And so he kind of, so you, how would you compare that with you started in karate then, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, how would you compare that with the training that you had in karate, or did one system fit you better than the other, or?
I think both systems are strong, and I really appreciate the principles and the, how can I say, the technique in each system. But I was more I came more involved in the Kung Fu because it allowed me to express my acrobatical techniques and so forth. You know, helped me to be able to be able to relax more when I was working my techniques. You know, it wasn't really aggressive, and I really needed something based on my personality, I'm a real aggressive person. So I needed something just to help me to show the more sensitive side of me, and Kung Fu allowed me to do that.
Okay, now I know that one of your loves is competition, and in fact that's why we have you here today, because I picked up a couple of magazines a while ago and read something that said that you were had kind of made history. You were one of the first Wushu stylists not to be rated in forms or to be rated in fighting or to be rated in weapons, but the first Kung Fu Wushu stylist to be rated in all three categories nationally at the same time. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, how difficult is that to do?
Well, first I have to give all praise and all just due to God, you know, just the strength beyond my grasp. But all of my training, it always trained in each aspect, you know, forms, fighting, and weapons. Even when I was in karate, I trained in fighting, forms, and weapons. I believe in a total martial artist, you know, the complete
let's be serious here now, because you know I'm a Kung Fu stylist,
Sure.
so we have to be honest. Most Kung Fu schools generally come out and they do their forms, and they're great with that. They do weapons, and that's nice, but generally what would happen is they'd come out and do their forms and weapons, and then they'd say, well, let's go up in the stands and let the karate guys come down and fight. So you're kind of a strange guy being a Kung Fu guy that fights, because I know from 20-some years in Kung Fu that most Kung Fu stylists are not known to be competition fighters. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. And I believe that it's
We're
really
going
the
to make some
individual.
folks out there mad at us today now by saying that, but I want to take it right from you, because I know that you are a fighter. I know you love to do forms and love to do weapons. I know guys that are great at this, great at that, but you chose to go with all three. It's very difficult to try to excel in three. There are a lot of forms competitors who can fight, but they choose to, you know, feature just the forms to try to become rated in that. It would seem that it'd be a lot more difficult to try to do all three at the same time.
You know, it's real easy for me, you know, because like I said, that's my base. That's how I came up. I always fought, I always did forms, I always did weapons. I think really when a lot of people always talk about Wushu people, they can't fight, they can't fight. They just can do great forms, they can do acrobatics, they can't fight. But for me, I believe it's the individual that brings something to the system. It's not the system that brings something to the individual. So it's the individual that comes into that system and brings that system alive. So when I came into Kung Fu, based on my experience in karate, all we used to do was just fight. So when I came to Kung Fu, it's like, yeah, this is my opportunity to excel, you know, to really be expressive in my style of fighting. So the Wushu gives me that opportunity.
Well, let me ask you one more question, because I know we got a break here in a minute. And this question is asked a lot, I'm sure. Who are your heroes in the martial arts? In the past, present, who inspires you, who motivates you? Because I know you've seen all of the greats traveling the national circuit.
Is it okay to say this on TV? You're one of my heroes.
Well, that's good. It's my show.
Yes.
So
well, that's not why I'm saying
okay to
that.
say
Yes,
that.
yes, sir, but that's not why I'm saying that. But you're one of my heroes. Tari Cassell, you know, Charlie Lee, John Chung. I even mentioned Peter Morales, George Chung. I have a lot of
These
heroes.
were all really great forms competitors.
Yeah, I mean, it started off with Bruce Lee being my hero, but when I got out there, and no disrespect to Bruce, but when I got out there in what I call the real world of martial arts, you seen the stuff that people that use trick cameras. They use trick cameras for those guys to be able to do on the screen, and in on the martial arts circuit, people don't need trick cameras. I mean, based on their natural ability.
I think that's great, and I hope that some of those superstars out there watching you, and we wish you a lot of success with it. We're going to come back with you in just a moment, because I think we have some footage of you actually performing, and some of the folks may not have seen you work. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break away right now, and we're going to come back in just a moment with Willie, I believe it is, the Bam Johnson.
Sir.
Okay, we're back with Martial Arts Showcase with our very special guest, Willie the Bam Johnson. Now, I know we talked to you earlier, Bam, about some of your many successes in martial arts on the competition circuit and just competing and becoming a super martial artist. But I know that doesn't really come easy. I mean, I know there's a certain amount of training involved with that. What does a martial artist like you do to stay in shape, and how do you train for 3 different categories?
Well, it all starts, I get up 6 o'clock and move right into what I believe.
6 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, sir, 6
Go
o'clock.
ahead.
6 o'clock. But it's a key for me. I go right into prayer and meditation, and I do that at least for about maybe 20 minutes or so. And then I'm off and running for about an hour. And that's how I start my day. It helps me be able to clear my mind. At the same time, I listen to positive thinking tapes, musical tapes. You know, I got to stay pumped up, because after the workout, I have to go into teaching. So I have to stay pumped up. I have to get my you get the right frame of mind, have to get the right attitude, a positive attitude. I believe that's important, your attitude. After the morning workout, I'm off to the school from 10 till 9:30 at night. I'm teaching, and I also have another workout in between the day when I should be out taking a lunch break, or when everybody else is out taking a lunch break, I'm working out for 2 hours, working my forms and my weapons. And then when I start teaching classes around 4 o'clock, I'm working with the students, constantly working, putting out that energy.
That's a pretty extensive day, though, isn't it? I mean, all day long. This is a day that Bruce Lee would have envied.
Well,
Yeah, most of us have to get in and do our time when we can get it in between school and work and all like that. So I guess you stay in pretty good shape.
and so it's an attitude, you know.
Well, it's worked real well for you so far. In fact, I have a surprise for you, because what we have is a clip here of you performing in one of the many competitions. This happens to be one of the national competitions, one of the AAA NASCA tournaments that are out here on the circuit. And everybody in martial arts knows exactly what NASCA is. It's North American Sports Karate, one of the major circuits. But we're going to break away here for just a second, and let's look at a little bit of you working.
Okay.
Gary, let's kick that tape.
All right, let's chill out. Let's chill out. We're gonna keep it. Let's keep it sports-like atmosphere here. Let's work. Let's cheer. Let's root. Let's go, bro. Let's go. Let's have a good fight. Good fight. Okay. Is that match over? Okay, let's crowd out.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Now, you know I like the weapons. That's my thing. When I was out there before I became an old retired has-been, I used to love to do the weapons myself. So that was real great. But I was real impressed with that fight with Marty. That was Marty Eubanks, I believe.
Sir.
Yeah, that was real sharp. I believe that was '84. He was #1 in the country at that
Sir.
time.
Sir.
You remember fond memories of that? Well, okay. Well, Bam, you know, one of the things I wanted to get into before we get any further in the show is I understand that you're doing a lot of community work now, and I know that that's something that's very dear to your heart, working with youngsters. And I see you have that patch on that says Champions Against Drugs. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing there.
Well, the Champions Against Drugs program is a national program. They have national spokespeople like John Elway, Dave Stewart, from different sports, and they elected me as the national spokesperson for the field of martial arts. And it's like a personal goal for me to go back to my community and go back to the lower income communities and try to motivate the kids to believe in themselves, to help them realize that whatever they believe in, they can achieve. You know, it's just the attitude. Whatever they believe in, they can achieve. You know, that's the whole purpose. We use Champions Against Drugs, but it's about an attitude. You know, we're trying to build up their attitudes, make sure they have that
Well, I know
positive
you came
attitude.
up in the projects over there in Baltimore, so I guess when you go back, it's like a like a hometown hero. Yeah,
Sir, it's a
something like
blessing.
that.
Sir.
And if anything else, if nothing else, it makes the people listen to you, and maybe the youngsters feel a little bit positive about that.